I don't think it matches up in terms of the importance of the role they are going to take up. But I think that links to our short-sightedness as people and as leaders. We think that we will live forever. And so you don't envision that it's going to be your 5-year-old doing your job one day. You can't make that connection.
Yeah.
You just can't make that connection. And that, I think, that leads to neglect. I think there's also the kind of people who the profession attracts are people who, like we said, just want to do a good thing, just want to help. They are going to be exploited. The people who want to make money do not go into education. So because you're also attracting a certain kind of person, they're less likely to resist. I remember when I was on my maternity leave, there were so many strikes. So that was 2023, so many strikes. Teachers were finally striking. Now, I can only imagine some of the tension that some individuals felt striking at certain points, because we care so much about the work we do and so much about the children that we are teaching. But that is often exploited, not just on a governmental level, but on an institute, just in your school. They know that if you say you need to mentor these children every single week for the next 6 weeks, we're not going to be like, no. We're going to be like, sure, because they need it, and I'm here to help, you know. And so I guess, in short, what do I think why are we here? We're here because people don't care enough to make the changes, because it looks like you said, it's working by and large, right? For most people, you went through the system, I went through the system, you went through the system, we're all here, we all went through the system, we're doing okay. So if there are a few it's not working for, why would we change? Why would we radically change it now? That's the problem, right? And it kind of links to parenting as well. Like, sometimes your parents will look at you and be like, oh, well, it can't have been that bad, you're doing great. And it's like, I am doing great, but am I doing great because or in spite? And so we have to ask the question about the education system. Am I doing great because of the education system? Am I doing it well in spite of it?
Yeah.
And I think more people are doing well in spite of it.
Yeah.
And because that nuance, then if they understood that we are just doing our best to overcome some of the barriers that the education, some of the things that education taught us. I put up a post the other day about the labels that teachers throw around and how they're following children until they're adults, and well into their adulthood, into their workplace. They still feel like they're disruptive, that they can't achieve because somebody said that to them when they were 6 years old in primary school. They have become, in spite of the education system, those things have to change. But everything's fine, you know. People are passing, people are going to work. Well, nothing to see here.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's that. And like what I was saying, I think because it works, as I said, for me, it works for the people in power.
Okay.
So when you think about how a politician, for example, becomes prime minister, a lot of times it's a clear defined route. You know, you went to this school, probably a grammar school, whatever. You went to this university, Red Brick, one of the top universities. You went to this, you're part of this association, you're part of that group, and then you end up as a prime minister, for example. Or you end up as the Minister of Education. So for you personally, that's a real clear and effective route. It makes sense. And if you come from a place where you can actually recreate that, to you it's not broken. It's working quite well, you know, because the standard, for example, of teaching falls dramatically depending on your postcode, where you live, where you grow up, and that's one thing I think a lot of people aren't aware as well. Like, they think it's a generic experience that everyone's having, when it's not. You know, you go to some schools, for example, it's the level of teaching is quite low, and other places it's quite high, you know. And obviously, as a lot of people naturally, I won't say they go through the easy routes, but it's like you don't want stress, you know. So a lot of people who are really good, for me, end up either being headhunted and lifted out of the kind of the system, or they just leave like for other reasons because literally like they can't cope, you know. Like, it's not. A lot of times, even when I think of some of the schools that are really kind of not doing so well, for me, it's almost like a vicious cycle, because that school didn't get a reputation. And when that school gets a reputation, almost no one wants to work there. So if no one wants to work there, the level of teachers that you are going to get even applying for these roles, you know, so it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy from that perspective, because it's like nobody wants hard work and stress, you know, like, or what you perceive to be hard work and stress. You want to feel like, you know what, you are going to be able to go in, do your job. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like the fantasy that you thought it was going to be. You know, if it's this school now, it's got its reputation for almost like chewing up teachers and spitting them out on a monthly basis, you're not going to go for those jobs. But ultimately, those schools still have to function.